I'm joined on the Crispin Flintoff show by Catherine Bole, who is the chair of Disability Labour. How are you doing, Catherine?
I'm doing well. You can call me Kathy. It's just comes up Catherine on the screen.
Okay. Well, thank you for agreeing to speak, Kathy. Um, to be in the Labour Party yourself and disabled, I'm curious to hear what your thoughts are on what's happened in the past week. I've got some videos of some of the ministers and what they've said, and I'm interested to hear what your response is to those. So first is Liz Kendall.
Well, the OBR will be coming forward with its independent assessment of the numbers affected.
But you must know that before you announced it.
I understand why you will push me on this question, but we've been really clear that we believe in the independence of the OBR, so you will have to wait until the spring.
Why haven't you published that today?
Until you wait for, because the OBR has to go through its process of looking at all the proposals, making its own independent
So do you not
assessment.
know how many people will be affected?
You will have to wait till you see the OBR and its view and its assessment of these proposals.
What do you think about the consultation and a discussion around the policy? I mean, were you consulted? Was Disability Labour consulted on this?
Nope, not a word. Not a word. Nobody's reached out to us. I have spoken to Sir Stephen Timms once. I spoke to him quickly at conference last year, but they're not interested in having a discussion where they're not just going to do what they want to do and be damned with what happens to us. People are going to die, Crispin. The people young people who are now going to be cut out of receiving benefits till they're 22, if they're not in work and if they're not in training or some kind of education, those are the people who suffer with their mental health. There's not enough mental health treatment to help them. And they're the ones who are going to say, I can't deal with this, and complete suicide. And I'm really, really worried about them because they're just going to do it on the spur of the moment. And if somebody doesn't interrupt them in the process, we're going to lose dozens, if not hundreds of people behind this group of policies.
You said you've gone through the green
Yeah,
paper.
I'm in the process of going through it.
What have you picked out of there as well?
There's not, so far, I'm 3/4 of the way through it, and there is not a whole lot of specific detail on how they're actually going to accomplish these things. You would think that in a green paper document that they would outline how they're actually going to make the savings and how they're going to go about introducing these changes. It's quite light on detail, which bothers me, because I'd like to know what trouble I'm going to get myself into.
There's been other interviews on the TV since then. I'll play another one now. This is Torsten Bell. I think he's a junior minister in the government.
Are you okay with making people worse off?
Well, I'm okay with building a sustainable system, because if it's not there
and if
for
it
people
means
in the long run,
are worse off, then so be it.
No, in the long run, I think this is what will make people better off. More people will be working, and will be able to sustain.
Shall I give you the verdict of the think tank that you recently led, the Resolution Foundation? The Health and Disability Green Paper will boost universal credit for up to 4 million families without any health conditions or disability by about £3 a week. That's 43p a day. But these tiny gains are overshadowed by reforms that risk causing major income losses for those who are too ill to work or those who no longer qualify for disability benefits. Young people under the age of 22 who fall ill in the future will lose support from a huge scaling back of incapacity benefits, so says the Resolution Foundation, leaving them with potentially around £70 a week to live on. What do you think they're going to do?
We've got a benefit system that says if you can't come in and prove you're too sick to work, then you will receive an absolute minimum level of support. So there's a very strong incentive to prove you are too sick to work and then write you off once you've done that.
For those who can't, they'll be living on about £70 a week. Could you live on 70 quid a week?
Absolutely not.
So why do you expect young people to?
We won't. We provide housing benefit as well, and we'll provide personal independence payments.
This is cash in their pocket. This 70 quid
So are the
cash
things I
a
just
week.
mentioned to you. So are the things I just mentioned to you. That's how the benefit system works. If people need help with their rent, they receive that as well. If they need support with a disability, personal independence payments is there for that as well.
So to buy food, to pay bills,
yes,
70 quid a week. You've just told me you couldn't live on that.
Well, no, I have a mortgage to pay because of the current situation. But
The rhetoric that's coming out is very reminiscent on the work will make you free thing, that work will do everything for you. Well, that's great if you can do that. But they believe, numbers that I've heard bandied around is they've tried this before with trying to get people into work. If there are not the accessible jobs there, and we don't know yet what the problems we're going to have with access to work, because that's going to be what gives people the reasonable adjustments. It gives them access to the things they might need in a new job. If that's then put on the employers to supply those reasonable adjustments, it's going to make disabled people too expensive in the long run. So you just don't hire them.
Someone who's told they can't, they don't qualify. So say someone who's a bit older, if they're told they can't qualify for benefits, and they have to find work, but they know they can't work because they know they can't work because they can't actually work. Where is their mind going to be? Like you say, that's such a despairing situation. I can't imagine how painful that must be for that person.
Well, you feel like you've been put in the bin. You know, that you're not worth enough to be helped. And I have depression and I have anxiety, which I got after I started dealing with the DWP. You know, they hold the DWP over you and you go through an assessment, which you know the end game is you need to get that high road mobility because you need to be able to get around. Unless, I mean, you can't afford to get a taxi everywhere. I know I can't. And I've worked all my life. And I'm thinking, well, the next assessment I get, am I going to lose my car? Am I going to lose the ability to have a car? I mean, I realize that mobility is a privilege. And I think that's the greatest bit of help I get. But I don't know, my recent PIP assessment is in with the DWP now. So I don't know what's going to happen. You know, they're leaving very little for disabled people to feel as though the government cares for them. We were great when Keir Starmer wanted to get to be leader of the Labour Party. He came and talked to us. It's on our YouTube channel. You can watch the whole interview. And he was talking about getting together with us a couple times a year to talk about, you know, what we could do to help Labour and how they could help us. And, you know, that man hasn't spoken to me since. that interview. You know, we've tried to be there for disabled people in the Labour Party. They stopped having a structure for disabled people and just said, here, can you take care of these people for us? Can you be our official group of disabled people? And then they won't talk to us. They stopped talking to us as soon as Vicky Foxcroft was taken out of her position as disability shadow minister for disability. And they've given us a part-time minister.
What you're saying sounds like Labour's not just trying to cut the deficit or whatever, or cut down on spending, but they've actually got a kind of contempt for disabled people as well.
It feels like that. And I can't tell people, when people ask me, why are you still trying with Labour? Well, I'm not. I'm trying for disabled people who are getting increasingly disconnected from the Labour Party, because Labour was never the people that would do this to disabled people. I mean, people who are MPs and councillors have to sign up to a code of conduct which talks about safeguarding vulnerable people. This doesn't feel like safeguarding of anybody. I feel as though we're being thrown to the wolves. And if you survive, you survive. If you don't, if you do survive, then the next thing is we're going to drive you into despair so that you opt for assisted dying. So if they don't get enough shaved off of the bill with this whole disability agenda, then they'll just wait. And then when people despair enough and their mental health gets bad enough, then they'll do what they did at the beginning of COVID and put DNRs on people and say, do not resuscitate these people because they're not the people we want.
What do you think about with Starmer talking about his family members having
Oh,
been disabled? What's your take on that?
it's the same thing. It's the show face. Because I noticed during the election, every time he came to the podium, he was rolling up his sleeves like, we're going to get ready for, working hard. It's a load of crap. He has shown his contempt for disabled people in so many ways, just by not just casually ignoring us. He's actively ignoring us. And I don't have a lot of positive feelings about Liz Kendall, I'll tell you that much. I think she's horrible.